Hello and welcome to the Pick a Card reading video. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. You'll get to see me paint the image that you relate to the most. You can choose from the images below that you relate to, and then I'll be talking about how they relate to your inner emotional landscape while you see your image being painted. So artwork actually has a really different vocabulary and has its own intuitive journey. So they don't necessarily relate to a particular card in the tarot deck, although I might mention which element they relate to, and then I'll be talking about how that image relates to you. So if you're ready, jump to the timestamp and let's get sketching. Hello, if you chose this image, this is your reading for your inner world. When I was actually doing this drawing, I felt like this person really related to the element of air. And this drawing, to me, if you've chosen it, is really about speaking your own inner truth, and in a way that's a little bit mysterious and a little bit creative as well. So there's an air of mystery about the person who's chosen this. And there is sort of like a hidden tenderness underneath that might not be detectable by people who sort of dismiss it at first if they've said something. If you've said something that can be perceived as a little bit cutting, but there is a definite tenderness that you might not show to everybody. And there is definitely an air of mystery as well about you, and within your own mind you actually have a very active imagination. Also, something that I'm getting is somebody who is a little bit private. So you might have an outer shell that can be perceived as a little bit colder, but your inner shell and the way that you actually move about in the world is a little bit more, it's creative and mysterious, and not everybody gets to see that part of who you are. And you're also a take no prisoners kind of person as well. I really do feel that you have the attitude of somebody who just doesn't take any kind of rubbish from people, and you can see straight through people. It's very easy to you. You can also see things in a very spiritual light as well, and you continue to do so, and you will continue to do so throughout your entire life. You see things and you feel things that others may not. It doesn't always make you the most popular person, and I think that's why you tend to have a little bit more of a shell around you as well. So I just want to talk a little bit about the choice of colors that I made with this painting as well, because I think they do actually add to the intuitive messages that are coming through for the person who chose this image. So purple is one of my favorite colors, admittedly, but it's also a color that's linked to spirituality. And because she's quite young, or she looks young in this image anyway, this is somebody who's very connected to, I guess, the other side, or something that's, I suppose it's connected to the uppermost chakra, which is to do with spirituality. It's to do with spirit, or whatever it is that you connect to as the other side. So purple is a really powerful color. It's very mysterious, very mystical. So I do feel that this person really emanates those things. And definitely the mystery that surrounds this person, the person that chose this image, is definitely there. But I also think that it's important for you, if you got this image and you chose it, to not be afraid to speak your truth, even if other people think it's a little bit unpopular at times, because you might be aware, or you might not be, that the things that you say could be viewed as unpopular, but there is a truth to them, and you can't help it if you need to say the truth. It might be unpopular, but then it might just happen exactly the way that you say it. So there is a need to kind of think about what it is that, we say on an everyday basis, but I also think that it's equally important not to hide from our own truth. Hello, if you have chosen this image, this is your reading for image number 2. So when I decided to draw this image, I was actually thinking again about the element of air, but the person who chooses this is someone who is very compassionate, but they're also very introverted. They keep things to themselves, and there's a sort of energy of wanting to help people and not always knowing the best way to do it, but always having the best of intentions. And they can appear to be a little bit cold, but they actually do have a lot of integrity. They think about a lot of things, so they're very introspective, and it's very much, for them, they churn a lot internally. So on the outside, they might not appear to be shaken, but on the inside, they do think a lot about how to take care of others, how to take best care of themselves. So they're very internal. And I do feel that they're quite nurturing as well at the same time. So it's sort of like silent but also kind as well at the same time. So talking a little bit about the colours, the use of colours in this imagery, I decided to use mostly just blue, and blue just using one colour and a little bit of, I suppose, burnt sienna, I guess that's the colour you can call it. Using just one colour is kind of a bold statement in any painting, but blue is a very powerful colour because it's very emotive. It can be a lot about sadness, a lot about the things that we've held back. It's a lot about being on ice and being a little bit on the colder side of things. So the person who's chosen this is somebody who really tries to keep things under control within their own minds, within their own hearts, so they try to see the rational side of things. But they can jump the gun a little bit occasionally emotionally. It's just that they try not to show it on the outside, so they do keep things under wraps. And they try and do the right thing, the noble thing, all the time. And whether people perceive that to be warm or kind is another matter, but they definitely think that they're doing the right thing, if that makes any sense at all. And I do believe this person, in terms of emotions, they do feel deeply at times, but sometimes they can question that sort of emotional landscape within themselves, so they don't always trust themselves emotionally. They prefer to rely on rationality, they prefer to rely on logic, and whether that's good or bad, it's still considered an emotion when people get worried. Being worried is an emotion. Being concerned about others' feelings is an emotion as well. It's just not processed in the same way as, say, passion or a fire sign. We're talking about the element of air, so this is how they process their emotions. Hello, this is your reading if you have chosen image number 3. So this image is a little bit different. I do feel, apart from the fact that the woman in this image is quite beautiful, I also do think that there is an element of truth, and I would say that she comes from the element of air as well. So the person who chooses this image, I feel, is somebody who's not afraid to stand for what they believe in, and also not afraid to stand for the truth. And truth might be a relative term, but you really do feel that it's important to stand up for what you believe in, and you see things as they are and not for what people want them to be. And this can be, I suppose, some people consider it to be a little bit polarizing, and some people also think that you can be a little bit on the cold side of things, but you do see it as a necessity, and you see it as beautiful. It's important, it's necessary. On the shadow side of things, I also do feel that you could be someone who stands up to others in a way that they find uncomfortable. And that's not really a problem with you, it's just how you feel that you can speak your own truth. So I really do think that you question what it's like to have a relationship with the outside world. So you question, what is it like to own your own space in a relationship, at work, with your friends, with your family? It's really something that's quite visceral because you think very carefully about how you occupy your space with others and your relationship with others in this way. So some people might not consider you to be the soft, cuddly type. I certainly don't feel that when I drew this image, and that might be different for you, but I certainly did not think about that when I was doing this image. I think you're somebody who likes to think a lot on their own. So again, you're a very internal sort of person. You are very introspective. You have your own thoughts, your own opinions, and you're totally okay with that. You own it. And you understand that there is a mystery to life, but you don't have to share it with everyone, and you know that on your own. And you're totally fine with it. So some people might see you as a little bit standoffish, a little bit cold, but I really do think that you have your own sort of autonomy going on. You're very independent, and you really, in terms of do you care about other people, you do. You think about the relationships that you have with other people, but in a very different way than, say, a fire sign or somebody who's an earth sign. You just think about things in a very different way in terms of your relationships. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the actual colours that I used in this painting and the significance that they have on you. I've chosen a couple of different shades of blue here and just one strike of purple on the right. And it didn't really occur to me at the time, but the fact that there's this just one plain streak of purple on the right tells me that it also shows me the fearlessness in this person's character, because you're not afraid to stand out. And again, it's somebody who is really fearless. And there is a certain kind of beauty to this person's image, even though their opinions might not be popular. So I do feel that those blues really do serve that kind of purpose, and it's going into the inner world and really examining how you think and how you feel about truth, and just serving people in a very cerebral sort of way.